Welcome to New England Lacrosse Journal's Chasing the Goal podcast, your destination for all things lacrosse. I'm your host, Kyle Devitt, and in studio, Mr. Jack Piatelli. Jack, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Looking forward to the long weekend with no lacrosse this weekend. So excited about that. Trying to get myself in shape, working hard, getting back to the gym, little boxing and
Boxing?
Yeah.
That's new.
Yeah, it is. It's a great workout. I took a private lesson. I almost died. I thought the woman was going to kill me.
Yeah.
I survived and went back for a second round. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Something I never done before. It's something I've always wanted to do. And anybody, I recommend it highly to any of the young athletes. What a great way to get in shape. Let me tell you.
It sounds terrifying. Would you go to like a title boxing or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a female boxer coach, and she was an animal. She did a great job. I think she forgot I was 60. She thought I was a kid. It's like, slow down. I went through a couple bottles of water. But all good. Excited for our next guest.
Yeah, and I think he can give us workout tips. He's an accomplished power lifter himself. He is the head coach of the Oaks LC box lacrosse franchise. First year getting to the nationals. Mr. Joe O'Neill. Joe, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've been friends for way longer than most guests we have on here. I think we met while you work at Stringer Shack, which we should say is a place that, have one of the few places that makes their own mesh for people to buy online out of Western Mass. And, we met when I was working for IL Gear, and I was just like, this is in Massachusetts. And I remember going to visit you at the plant, and I'm like, this isn't an old brick building, like down a street. Like, what's happening? Am I in the right place? Because
Right.
it's, Western Mass is shockingly similar to central New Hampshire and northern New Hampshire. Kind of the same thing. Is you're like, oh, this is a town. This is a town. And then you go in.
Yeah. I don't work there anymore. I haven't been there for about a year.
Okay.
The company's still going strong and all that. They just kind of phased out what I was doing for the company, kind of a casualty of COVID, honestly.
Yeah.
But they're still pumping out the same high quality products, and I still use them to this day.
Well, I know one of the things you did kind of in your post-COVID was become a head coach at Wacona High School. Tell me a little bit more about how that happened, because I don't know the story about it. I know your son was on the team, but other than that, how did that come to pass?
I was actually with the team 3 years prior to my son being on the team. I kind of started out as the 1 day a week assistant. And then as time went on, I came on as the JV coach. And then when the head coach stepped down, it was kind of a natural progression. My son was coming in as a freshman, and I took over the program in 2018.
And you led them his senior year. 2020 got canceled, but you led him his senior year to a championship in 2022. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience? I know, Jack, you've coached your boys, but to do it and win a state title, what was that experience like for you?
Obviously to do that with my son was amazing. The thing about it was as most dads are that know the game and grew up with the game, I had been helping his group since they were little kids. So it was with my son, but it was also with like a group of kids that have been a part of my lacrosse life. It was for about 8 or 9 years. So to do it with that group was really special. It was an amazing ride. I got to do it. I got to do it my way. I was able to do some fun things, some different things that, I don't know, we had a really fun, exciting team. We were able to play fast. Usually the starters played half the game because I let them get to 20 and then we were done. That usually happened by halftime. And then, yeah, but overall, the run was amazing with the team. It was great.
And one of the things I know that you used to develop those players was your box acumen. You know, you kind of developed and all those players with a box aspect, a skill set.
So,
You help develop those players with a box skill set, and it really helped them, you know, learn the game from a different angle, I think, than a lot of high school coaches for field develop their players. How did you implement that, and what were some of the things you did to highlight that progression?
um, I've had to think about this a lot lately because this question's kind of come up to me a lot in the past month or so. I think a lot of it goes to, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing, is that I did not play college lacrosse. So I had no preconceived notion of like how to teach the game or how to develop a player. But I knew what I idolized when I was growing up was was it they call it the MLL, MILL, Boston Blazers of original. I believe, Jack, were you on that team?
I was, yes, yeah. The mill.
Yeah. So I probably watched you play. Actually, I know I watched you play. So I idolized that version of the game. And in doing that, it made me kind of chase different things. So once my son was old enough, I started looking for more and more box lacrosse. And that led me to NAMLA, which is a Native Youth League in New York. So my son grew up playing native box lacrosse, like on the native reservations. Didn't really play a ton of field lacrosse. So yeah, we're from Western Mass and all that, but that's where I really learned how to coach, and I really learned how to. He really learned how to play, along with some of the other kids that were on that team. So that's kind of, it was a little bit different. That I really came at it more from a box background. I grew up playing field lacrosse, but I developed my skills in the box game, coaching and stuff like that. So it made me attack the game a little bit differently.
Your son played box throughout his whole youth and high school career. Much easier transition going from box to field. Explain why.
The game is so much. I mean, the game that we love is very fast, right? Field lacrosse is a very fast game, or it can be, but it's not nowhere near as fast as box lacrosse. So you have your reaction time to reading what's happening on the floor is that much faster, so that it becomes so much easier to read what's happening on the field. I even see it from the coaching perspective. It's pure chaos as a coach on a box bench. And when you're on the sideline on the field, it's kind of like the Matrix, like everything just kind of slows down, and you're able to see what's happening a lot quicker. So in that aspect, it helps the players, but I think it also helps the coaches be able to see what's happening quicker on the field.
Making adjustments on the fly in box, calling timeouts, things of that nature. As a coach, you do have to really pay attention to what's going on in the field. And you also have to pay attention to what's going on in the box and make sure you have the right personnel on there, because you've got changes going on all the time. You got a transition situation, or you lose possession on offense. You got to get the guys off to get the defensive guys on, vice versa. When you have the ball on defense, you might lose it. And so there's a lot going on, not only on the field, but on the bench.
Correct. And I think one of the things that it helped me is like trusting my assistants, like in the box, like I'm on a box bench, I'm watching the overall game, and the guys running the door, my assistant coach is running the doors. You have to trust them, and you have to be able to communicate quickly with them. And I feel that transfers very well to the field game also. It was kind of a joke amongst the writers and people that would see my field bench. I had a ton of coaches on my sideline at Wacona, and the box people running the box. There was kind of actually like two people running my box. I had the person actually sending them off and on, and then I had another guy that was getting them ready. So there was a lot of communication that was happening with that. Yeah,
making sure making sure they open the gates at the right time, getting the players off, getting them on. I'll never forget, when I was asked to play for the Boston Blazers, we practiced, we had training camp. None of us were box players. Our first game was in Philadelphia, 18,000 people. And no matter how much preparation you put into the game and getting ready for the first game, and my son now plays for the Firewolves, and I told him his first game was in Buffalo in front of 15,000. I said, you'll never experience anything like this, because unlike practicing the field game, when you get to a real game, field game, the situation doesn't change that much. The pace of your practice, the pace of the game doesn't really change much at all. But when you play box, you practice and you get out in a game situation, they blow that whistle. It is, like you said, it is like chaos, right? Everybody's moving 100 miles an hour. The ball's bouncing off the boards. You're trying to track the ball down. Am I going on offense? Am I supposed to get off? And it's overwhelming at first. Over time you do adjust to it, but there's nothing like the rush you have playing box. The excitement, the fun, conditioning. It's the best conditioning that I've ever been through. I was in the best shape of my life playing box, because it takes a lot out of your upper body, your legs. You got to be able to be strong with your cross checks and being able to, create space for yourself. It's a lot more difficult because you're playing in a small arena out instead of out in the field. But there's nothing like playing competitive box.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I say, and I'm sure that you can attest to this, is kind of like in a little bit of like a philosophical thing, is those walls of the box, it just contains the energy. So it just constantly builds in there.
Yes.
Yes. In field, it has some place to go. It's there, but it can go someplace. And if you're playing where there's a crowd in a box, they're on top of you too. So it's the emotions and the mental strength that you have to have in that game make field lacrosse a much easier to consume game, a much easier to play game.
Yeah, and the thing is, with box, you can't hide a player. You're on the floor, you can't hide a player. You can hide a player in field lacrosse, a weaker player. But when you're on the field, the box floor, right, and you're playing, you have no choice but to be active. You have to play. You have to go out there and you have to find a way to pick up the ground ball, create space for somebody else, set a pick. Because if you don't, you're in big trouble. Big trouble. You might get hurt. You're going to get lost, but you're like in a cave, right? You're in a cave, like you said. Right. You got the boards and you're trying to find a way, to navigate through that cave. And if you don't have your head up, you don't know where the ball is, you don't know where you are on the floor, you're going to be in trouble. And there's no escaping unless you get off the floor. And, like you said, like the box, the ball hits the boards, the ball is still in play. If a guy makes a bad pass in field, it goes out of bounds, whistle blows, you get a 1 or 2 second break. But when you're on that floor, you don't get a break. It's all out.
Yeah, all out. And emotionally, it's all out as well, I also find. And I think that's why we see some things escalate in box a little bit more than in field. But yeah. Completely agree.
If you can handle the speed in box, the outdoor game slows down for you so much. And obviously you're shooting on a 6x6 versus a 4.5x4.5. Those goals vary from year to year, but you're talking between 4 and 4.5 feet for the box goal, which is a huge advantage, because if you can find a way to put the ball in a 4x4 goal and then you go outside and it's 6x6, it's like, wow, this is pretty easy compared to what I was just trying to do in the arena.
Absolutely. One of the other things I consciously did in like trying to help my son develop was before the summer before he was at the high school. He played his first junior season, so he was playing U21 junior ball at 14 years old, playing against some amazing players, guys that these are college guys. So by the time he made it to the high school field, he'd already been pushed around by college guys. And one of the things that's also drastically different between box and field when you're talking about playing up north or on the reservations in New York is it happens in the summer, but this isn't summer lacrosse. This is winner take all. This is not a 3 or 4 game tournament in Long Island or on a Sunday in the summer. This is winner take all. They're not going to take it easy on the 14-year-old kid. He initially, they see him as the weak point. They're going at him. They want that ball from him. And I, like I said, I did that very consciously. So by the time he was there his freshman year, he's not going to be pushed around by a high school kid the way that, some big 21-year-old guy that is looking to go to a Founders Cup is going to push him around.
Great way to grow up quickly.
Extremely good way.
He was also an excellent soccer player as well, right?
Yeah, he was a defenseman at Wacona. And that was he brought a different feel to the soccer game, if one way to put it. Because you have to think he was playing junior ball in the summer and then went to the soccer field that fall. So he was very good at separating the player from the ball.
Yeah.
Brought a little more aggression to the field than most soccer players.
Yes.
Did he lead the league in cards or no? Close?
No, honestly, no.
Really?
Once again, he's way smarter than me. And he's very subtle with everything that he does. He was very good at separating. The only time he ever got a card, the only reason he got it was I honestly thought the kid was dead. And I say that not legally. He took a kid out so hard, and the ref didn't card him initially. It wasn't until the other team's parents were going onto the field that they finally carded him. But I think that was his only card in high school soccer, amazingly.
We should say his name's Billy, and he plays at NAS. And his recruiting journey was interesting as well. I know, like, when you're a father and you're coaching him, and it's a little bit of a different perspective than just a parent that has a kid that plays sports. How was that process for you as well as for him? Like, what was your level of involvement, and which schools were kind of you guys talking to the whole time?
One of the things that I did as he was going into his freshman year is I went and I looked for a club, and I looked for a club that would kind of fit his style and be able to showcase his skill set that he has, right? And not try to make him into something that he's not. And I ended up with HGR, with Brian Brazil. And one of the reasons I went with them was because they ran the pairs offense that they ran at Merrimack. And that suited his style. It suits his skill set and all of that stuff. So in terms of the recruiting, I wanted to be basically as hands-off as I could. This is the player's experience. It shouldn't be the parent's experience. And we had talks and we communicated and all of that kind of stuff. But Brian Brazil at HDR really helped him along the way. And, we had great meetings and stuff like that. Schools that were looking at him was Merrimack, which was a natural one because Brazil was right there. We practiced HDR practice at Merrimack. Merrimack, what was it? Hartford when they were Division One, and who the heck else was it?
From NESCAC schools, right?
Yeah, Williams. Yeah, which is local to here. And those are, I would say, were kind of the bigger ones that we're looking at them. Nazareth happened because with my encouragement his freshman year, I told him cast a really huge net with your highlight video. And he sent his highlight video everywhere. And Nazareth and Coach Randall was the one school that responded to him quickly. And Coach Randall then communicated with him for the rest of his career, and made him feel very comfortable. The other big kind of reason that he ended up at Nazareth was I'm friends with Ryan Hotaling, who was quite the player there, also in the box game. And kind of a little bit of encouragement from him and that kind of stuff. But he's in his sophomore year now, and he's having the time of his life up there.
Hey, it's Bobby Moran, Director of Athletics at Thayer Academy. You know what? Experience matters, and Thayer Academy's professional coaching staff understands how to work with each student athlete to help them succeed. Our coaches and faculty are committed to ensuring both 5th to 12th graders feel known, connected, and prepared. This is Thayer's secret sauce, nurturing each student to reach their full potential. Here, success is truly a team sport. Are you ready for your child to take the next step? See what Thayer has to offer at thayer.org. That's THAYER.org.
Are you serious about playing your sport in college? Do you need a flexible education that allows you to maintain your practice and competition schedules while also preparing you to succeed at the next level? You should check out the University of Nebraska High School. UNHS is accredited and offers more than 100 online courses, including NCAA-approved courses to protect your academic eligibility. Students could earn a UNHS diploma or take a single course for transfer credit. Courses are college prep, self-paced, and available 24/7, 365. Enroll anytime and take up to a year to complete a course. Visit highschool.nebraska.edu today.
The Piatelli Stallions will be holding tryouts for their indoor box lacrosse tournament team on Saturday, November 4th for youth and high school players at Four Kicks in Marlborough. Players will participate in box lacrosse training sessions over the fall and winter and play in 2 box lacrosse tournaments. Some of the best lacrosse players in the country credit their success to the skills they learned while playing indoor box lacrosse. Our coaching staff is comprised of box lacrosse legends like Bruce Janenchuk, Dave Desko, and current National Lacrosse League star for the Albany Firewolves, John Piatelli. John's dad, Jack Piatelli, of course, will be there as well. For more information on the Stallions box lacrosse program, visit piatellilacrosse.com. That's PIATELLI lacrosse.com.
One of my former teammates' son, Jack Seibel, I think he's the same class as your son, correct?
Correct. They played HDR together the whole time. Yep.
Yeah, he's having a great experience at NAS. They've done a great job for so many years. Coach has put together some really good teams. And actually, my son's freshman year at Cornell, they scrimmaged NAS in Michigan at NAS. I'd never been to the campus before, but it's a nice campus. Great facilities for small Division III school. It was a great experience to just go up there and see the campus. So anybody that's listening, NAS, they have a great program, great coach. He's been around doing it for a long time, and glad to hear your son's having a good experience.
Yeah, they have 3 different lacrosse fields. which is not very common at a Division III. And they also have a brand new indoor facility, and there's a field that's almost a full-size field that they can practice on earlier in the year. And they also, the team runs a winter, like 7-on-7 league leading up to winter break. So that team is together all the time. And I think that's a really important thing to note. Like, that team is pretty much all of them together all the time. So
You'll be friends for life.
absolutely.
I actually just talked to one of my kids. He's a freshman and he's having trouble. It's first month is the worst month, you know? And I had someone reach out and just be like, hey, I think he's struggling a little bit. Called him. And he was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know, coach. I don't know. Like, it's so different. And I'm like, hey man, I wouldn't
Sorry.
send you to a place if I didn't think you could play there. You know, like, you have to believe in yourself enough to like work hard enough to like make a team. Like, it's not high school anymore. You're not just going to walk onto the field and be playing. And I think he hears that. And I told him that before he went, but experiencing it is such a different thing. And like, having that support is a huge part of, especially initially, breaking into the team and getting some minutes. And I know Billy kind of went through that last year. I watched a couple NAS games and he was coming in kind of on that second midfield, third midfield line, and advancing up, as the season went on. I could tell. Did you have any conversations like that with him? Just be like, hey man, you know what you're doing. You'll be fine. You just keep working. Like, you'll get on the field, kind of things.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that they do there, I don't know if they do it everywhere. Coach Randall has a depth chart pretty much every practice. So you kind of know where you are going into practice, especially during the spring season. So you might be knocked down a couple pegs from yesterday. Well, you better get back there and work harder, and get yourself up there. Yeah, I mean, Billy had an up and down season. I mean, overall, I think he had a good season. He did at Nazareth what he's always kind of done with me, and like, honestly, I saw it this summer with him and the Oaks. He kind of wakes up in the big time, the big shows. I think he had 3 or 4 points against RIT. Like that kind of stuff. Like he shows up when it's really on the line, and he did that for us this summer with the Oaks. You kind of had a slow summer, but then when I think the championship game, I think it was 4 points, but more importantly, towards the end when we were trying to seal out the game or keep it close. I mean, I think he was pretty much responsible for keeping the ball down in our offensive end for 3 possessions in a row. 3 30-second shot clocks, which to be able to peel that off a clock is huge. So, do we have those conversations? Absolutely. Him and I are very close. He's actually home right now for reading week, and we just kind of hang out and do our father and son thing. Try not to talk too much lacrosse, but yeah.
Pretty inevitable. Tell me a little bit more about how you founded the Oaks, because he played for Nor'easters as well. There's a kind of a smaller New England-based box league that's really expanded, and Jack has a team. He's wearing his shirt now. The Stallions, who are in that as well, and it's kind of become a feeding ground. I mean, one of your guys got drafted in the NLL draft after playing for you guys. So can you talk a little bit more about the genesis of the Oaks, how you guys founded the team, and your experience coaching box as well?
So to get into how the team was kind of founded was right after Billy graduated high school. He had some offers to go up north, but he wanted to kind of stay more close to home because he was going away to school. So I contacted Ryan Conwell and said, hey, if you're interested, I got him. We'll get him out there for practices and stuff like that. So he played a summer with Cambridge. Next year comes around, and he again had some interest from some teams up north, but he was kind of doing the been away at school. I want to be home. I want to see my friends out here. I want to just be home. So I said, do you want to go to Cambridge again? I said, or this is the opportunity we have. We've always talked about having a team out here of some sort. I go, this is the opportunity where we could do this here. And he said, yeah. He goes, let's do this here. So him wanting to stay home and wanting to kind of take the little bit harder route. The easy thing is to go play for Cambridge, or one of the other teams in the league. The hard thing is to get a team going. So we took the hard route. My partner, Charlie Edwards, and I have wanted to have a box lacrosse team out here for years. And this was kind of finally the straw that broke the camel's back on us getting it off the ground. And it was an amazing summer. We had great fans in Holyoke. It's kind of what we thought it was going to be because there's not much else going on. So we had fans, we had a DJ playing music the whole time. It was kind of a mini NLL environment when you came to our barn.
And, just the way that team happened, how do you make a team? How much recruiting did you do? How many guys did you get that were local? How many people could you bring in? How'd you get the facility, uniforms? I feel like you just had a team. I remember talking to you and you're just like, hey, I'm going to do this team. I'm like, how'd you do that? And then I see you guys are having success. It was wild to me.
So the first thing that I recommend, and I'm sure Jack will go with me on this one, is the first step is have a completely understanding wife.
Jack, you have that?
I no longer have a wife.
Well, that's the other way to do it.
She wasn't understanding.
There you go.
And you have yet to have a wife, so
yeah. Wow.
So that's step number one. Now, step number two is we built the team essentially from the goalie forward. The advantage that I had. Let me just say this. This is the first team I've ever been a part of where I can recruit the entire team, where it's not like a team just matriculating up to me, like through high school or anything like that. So this is the first time where I was actually able to go out and sell guys on, you should come play for us kind of thing. Now, it kind of goes back to where Billy was playing when he was in his youth, right? And the guys that I had brought along with that. Cam Smith, the kid that was drafted, the first box lacrosse game he ever played was for me. I had him out in Rochester playing for one of my teams out there. So to see him go pro is amazing, amazing accomplishment. But we had from the Medicine Men team, the junior team in First Nations. No, it's a defunct team, but a lot of my Oaks guys were Medicine Men. So it was like bringing the boys down from Akwesasne to come play for the Oaks. It was, and then their friends would want to come play. It was guys that were bubble players for the Muskies. Maybe they got cut from the Snake Island Muskies. They're coming to us. Maybe they're kind of aged out of the Muskies a little bit. They can't quite run at the senior B level anymore. They came down with us. That's where I got a lot of my guys, a good core of my native group that I had playing for me. And then I also had guys that had played box for me or field lacrosse for me over the years that came in, and then their friends. So that's essentially how the team was formed. It was, kind of meshing together 3 different friend groups. You know, my Akwesasne friend group, the Western Mass friend group, and then their friends. And we're able to put it together into a heck of a team. I also just kind of read the rule book. Guys only have to get 2 games in to be eligible for playoffs. So typically my top guys got playing time when they weren't seeing the top teams in the New England division. So Maine and Cambridge never saw my top goalie until they saw our top goalie in the playoffs. That kind of stuff. Kind of playing the system a little bit too.
So you gamified it a little bit. I know that you went on to kind of, you know, win the Northeastern Division, and that was a wild game. Even your first game was wild. Can you kind of just tell me about that real quick?
Yeah, you know, I got a couple minutes here. Going into it, we, as Jack knows, with these things, you're dealing with men, so you're kind of at the last minute trying to finish out your rosters. And we got our roster together for that day. We had what we thought was going to be a good, solid group. We had good leadership on defense was a big one. We had one of our top goalies was there, and it was that emotional train. We stuck together. We found our groove with everything that we had to find a groove on. Offensively, we really popped off against Maine. Defensively, our defense stepped up huge against Maine, along with our goalie made some amazing stops against Maine. And then we quickly turned around in an hour, and we had our game with Cambridge that went down to overtime. And you know, all the power to them. They're a great team. You know, I was on their bench the summer before. Great group of guys. Love those guys. But at the end of the day, we were able to impose our will at the end. One thing with my high school teams, the Oaks team, whatever it is, they never stop fighting, ever. Sometimes actual fighting, but
Weren't they fighting after the game too?
Jack.
Were we fighting after the game? No, we weren't fighting after the game.
I thought I saw a video of championship game, that box game, on Instagram or X, former Twitter, where they showed fans coming and players fighting, and I thought it was the championship game, but I'm mistaken. But it was a melee after a game.
No, we never had fans or anything like that. Honestly, no.
I just remember seeing the highlight of the guy getting his head smashed in, and everyone's like, "This is box lacrosse," and I was like, "That's why I don't play anymore." The
viral highlight. That was
the viral highlight of a guy getting his head smashed into the boards was one of the reasons you're on the podcast. Like, it was unreal.
Yeah, that was Billy. And then that was my Wacona assistant son, Zach Mann, came in and gave him a little help at the end to make sure that he was okay. It happens. We move on. The wildest part about that video, I will say, is it went viral, and this was against 1,000 Island Spirits, another like heavily native-based team, and we played them out here. That video went viral, and then we had to go up and play them in their barn the following weekend out in New York. So it was definitely, hey, what's going to happen here? But everybody's cool. You know, honestly, after the game with Thousand Islands and, you know, whatever happened, you know, we're all at the local, we're all at Griffin's Pub at the end having a good time together. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that I really want to key on is, yeah, things happen out there. But at the end of the day, we're all a part of this together, and we're all shaking hands and hugging at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what's great about lacrosse. Really, is the the friendships you develop. And, you know, like you said, you were coaching a lot of those guys before, you know them. You know, it's a family. You go to war for a couple hours, and afterwards, you know, you break bread, have a couple of beers, and you have a few laughs, and you move on.
Absolutely. And I think that that's key. Like all three people that were involved in that viral video, you know, they all hung out that night and the next time we were up in New York. You know what I mean? So no hard feelings anywhere. It just is what it is. It was kind of funny that it blew up like that, though.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's amazing that you guys in your first year kind of won division, went to nationals. You know, we just want to thank you for coming on and promoting the box game as well as the field game. I think, you know, that league in particular is really great at building players and is going to stay around, as opposed to the other league that did not last 2 weeks or 2 months. So definitely go if you're in the Western Mass area in Holyoke. Definitely check out the Oaks this coming summer. I'm assuming you're doing it again.
Absolutely. For the next probably 20 years.
Awesome. So definitely check that out, Joe. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Joe. Great job.
Yeah, great talking to you.
You too.
Thanks again for listening to New England Lacrosse Journal's Chasing the Goal podcast. For Jack Piatelli, I'm Kyle Devitt. See you next time.